Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we are back again this week for our handicap analysis. I think we've got 6, let me just count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, we have 3 on the flat and 2 over hurdles and 1 over fences. Starting off with Aberama Gold, who's dropped another pound to 83. I highlighted him at the beginning of the season saying that we were waiting for soft ground. And he kept dropping in the handicap. He's now dropped back down to a mark of 83. It's a ridiculous mark for him, to be honest. But he can't keep up. He can't keep up over 5 furlongs. He keeps running on strongly at the finish, but isn't getting there in time. And he's got to go up, hasn't he? He's got to go up to 6 furlongs. And I found a race for him. I found a race that looks perfect for him, to be honest. And that is this one here. It's a 6 furlong race. On Saturday 9th of October at Doncaster for horses rated 81 to 83. Now, when I highlighted him for this race, it was October 15, so 4 days before he ran his last race, and he was rated 84. He's dropped another pound, which is concerning, because he's now down to 83, and he's also entered at Doncaster at the weekend, over 5. Now, if he gets beat there and drops, say, 1 or 2 pound more, he's going to be really close. It's going to be touch and go whether he actually gets in this race. Obviously, if he dropped below 81, he wouldn't get in for a start. But then we've also got to account for the amount of runners. He's going to be one of the last to get in if he does get in because of his handicap mark. He really doesn't want to run at Doncaster at the weekend on soft ground. I'd be confident he would win over 6. To be honest, at Doncaster. Yeah, I don't want to see him over 5. I would be really worried that he's going to get outpaced again and run on again behind, finish 3rd or 4th and disappoint in my eyes. He's got to be winning soon. At that Doncaster race on the 9th of November would definitely be where I would be aiming him. Second horse I want to talk about is Knightswood, who's dropped £3 to 82. Now, he just doesn't want soft ground, does he? Look, heavy going at Newbury, soft ground at Catterick. He's finished last of 11 and last of 9. But his better form had actually come on better ground throughout the season. Good to firm at York and at Goodwood. And because of how he's been campaigned recently on that soft ground, he has actually dropped in the handicap. He's dropped another £3 to 82. Having been rated 88 when he ran at Haydock, for example, just 3 runs ago. So he's dropped £6 for those 3 runs. Now, he dropped £1 for finishing 4th at Haydock in a feature handicap in the Old Borough Cup. I don't think that was a bad run. He was kind of, in my opinion, beaten by the right horses. Maybe it didn't quite work out the way the race was run. Nothing wrong with that run, though, in my opinion. To be another £5 or £6 lower from then for races that just he hated the ground, I think he's ridiculously well handicapped now. But obviously we've come to the end of the flat season and there isn't a race that I could find that suits him at this time of year, particularly with the ground likely to be soft and heavy everywhere. So I hope he comes back for this race here at Goodwood. No, not this one. This one here. Which is towards the end of May, so it's it's a little way away, 7 months. But you can add him to your NAGMI using the NAGMI feature, this one here, and you will get a notification when he next runs. Yeah, I would like to see him at Goodwood in this race here. Why? Well, he arguably ran his best race when finishing 5th here in the Coral Summer Handicap in August of this year. Didn't get the clearest of runs, and I'm convinced if he did get a clear run, he would have won. So if he would have won off 88, he would have probably gone up to 90, let's say he went up £5. He went up to 93. Well, I'm suggesting that the horse is a 93 rated horse who next time at Goodwood could run off 82. I think he would. I'd be really disappointed if he didn't run here in May, and even more so if he does run and it's good ground if he didn't win. So that's Knightwood. So that's a little bit of a wait for him, but he's definitely worth adding to your notebook, your RTR NAGMI, with this race in mind at Goodwood. The next horse I want to talk about is Koy Koy. Now, Koy Koy has dropped again in the handicap. he dropped, what did he drop? £3 to 87. Now, he has been a little bit disappointing, but I would argue that his only disappointing run, he's run a couple of disappointing runs, and then sometimes he runs well. So his couple of 6th places in May, they weren't bad. They were 6th at Newmarket and 6th at Epsom in good handicaps. He then did disappoint at Royal Ascot, finishing 23rd. Disappointed on his return at Newmarket, but then ran a much better race at Sandown. Okay, last time it didn't work at Southwell on the all-weather. Maybe the Southwell all-weather didn't suit, and Grace actually reported the horse didn't get the clearest of runs, and if he had, maybe he'd have gone a bit closer. So the handicapper dropping him £3, I think is quite lenient and eye-catching, because that means he's now down to 87. We were interested in him in races and went off 92 favourite for a race at Epsom of 95. So he went off £7 higher mark, and he went off the 92 favourite for a good handicap at Epsom. Now, obviously the flat racing is over, so where could they go with him? Well, if we actually look back through his form, he's got a win at Wolverhampton over a mile in a Racing League race, where he beat Farasi Lane. Farasi Lane, I think at that time, was one of our horses that we were really keeping an eye out for. And Koy Koy actually won that off a mark of 93. He's down to 87. He's very well handicapped on the all-weather. And is there a race for him? Absolutely. There is this race here. It's 15 grand for the winner. You can't be arguing with that at this stage of the season. It's actually on Boxing Day, on the 26th of December. So if he turns up on Boxing Day, Koy Koy would very likely be one of my selections. If I don't do an analysis video, he'll certainly be one that I'll be thinking about for my naps. Obviously, there are so many races that day, so he might not end up being one of my 3. But I would definitely be having a bet on him if he turns up in this race on Boxing Day at Wolverhampton. Now we go to the National Hunt horses, and we start with Pembroke. Now, he's actually the horse who disappointed over hurdles. He ran okay over hurdles in the Welsh Champion Hurdle, but I think he'll be back over fences next time. Back over fences, and I want him back up in trip. I think they dropped him back over hurdles to get a little bit of confidence and fitness into him, just get him round after his disappointing effort in the Scotty Brand Handicap Chase at Ayr at the end of last season. Now, I think they'll go back over fences, and I hope they go back over a little bit further. He, for me, wants 2.5 miles. Now, Dan Skelton keeps running over 2 miles, suggesting that he believes that he wants 2 miles. So hopefully, we could meet in the middle. And we could go for... I've got the horse up instead of... Here it is, the Howden Handicap Chase over 2 miles 2 and 175 yards. They actually had a 3rd place runner last year with Dan Skelton. Dan Skelton did with Sham Blue for Dan and Harry Skelton. And I honestly believe that Pembroke would be... I think he'll go very close in that handicap. I think he's a very good horse. I think he's better than what he's currently shown. I think he's nicely handicapped. And I think he wants that step up in trip. I really do. I think he wants 2 mile 4. I've mentioned many a time about this horse that his 2 mile 4 form is actually pretty good. The only time he disappointed over that trip, it was too short at Kempton. Although it was over 2.5, Kempton's a really easy 2.5. And he got beaten a grade 2 by Blow Your Wad and Tamuras. There's not a lot wrong with that either. Pembroke just wants a bit further and a handicap. Drop him into a handicap over a bit further. I think I'll go really close in the Howden Handicap Chase. Moving on to Jipcot or Jipco. I imagine it's properly pronounced, as it is French, I believe. Where do I think we should go with him? So I think he did disappoint in the Welsh Champion Hurdle, finishing 7th of 10. I preferred him in the race the day before. I think that was it Aintree? No, Chepstow. I preferred him at Chepstow, to be honest, rather than Fosslas. He went to Fosslas instead, and disappointed in my eyes. Now, we've got to remember that Connections believed he was good enough for the graded races when he first came over from France. He went to Cheltenham, he went to Aintree for the grade ones instead of the handicaps, which he could have run in off his marks of 127 and 124. Now, he disappointed, And then he went over fences, and again, that didn't quite work. But then last season, they dropped him back to hurdles, and they probably would be quite happy with what happened, bar not having enough runs. He went to Huntingdon, he won off a mark of 117, he beat Bluegrass very comfortably, demonstrating that he is better than a 117 horse. Okay, he's still rated higher than 117. Then he went to Sandown for the Imperial Cup. I thought he ran a really good race, finishing third behind Go Dante and Favois. Now, I've mentioned before, Dan Skelton tries to win the bonuses, so he tries to win the Imperial Cup or the More Battle Hurdle, and then go and win a race at the Cheltenham Festival. He tried with Favois, it didn't quite work. He's tried with Langadan, it didn't quite work. He's tried with Lo de Sud, it hasn't quite worked. But he keeps entering horses that he thinks have a great chance of going well in both. And to be fair to Favois, after finishing second to Go Dante, Favois then went to Cheltenham and finished 6th in the County Hurdle. So it was a good performance. And the winner, Go Dante, after winning at Sandown, then went to Aintree. He didn't go to Cheltenham, he went to Aintree and he finished 5th, only beaten 3 1/4 lengths in a handicap hurdle. Now, if you watch that race back or you remember that race, he gave away about 20 at the start. Because when when the tapes went up, he swung round at the start and lost what looked like all chance. He was very, very unlucky that day. And I'm sure he just needed the run at Fosslas in the Welsh Champion Hurdle. The fact that he drifted out to 6s demonstrated or suggested to me that he needed the run. So Jipcot at Sandown got beat by 2 horses that were primed and ready to run big races in the Imperial Cup, probably better than the handicap marks, and gave everything. And for Jipcot, therefore, to finish 3rd, I thought it was a really, really good performance. So what do you do with him next time? This was his 3rd place in the Imperial Cup. Where do you go with him next? Back to Sandown. There is this 2 mile handicap for horses rated 0 to 130. Back at Sandown, over 2 mile, over hurdles. I think he'll take all of the beating here. I have highlighted in an email today that has gone out today about Arcoub, who's also down to run at Aintree at the weekend, that I think he should also be targeting this race. But as I've said many a times in my videos, I can highlight what looks like really obvious races for many reasons, and then trainers and owners for some reason go to a completely different race that has there's no reason to be running in that race in terms of there's no previous form or anything, and they disappoint, and then they go, oh, that was disappointing. So although I've highlighted 2 for that race, is it likely that both are going to turn up? We'll see. If they both did turn up, who would I fancy most? Jipcot. So that's Jipcot. Finally, moving on to the final one that I want to talk about is Willaston, who has dropped, what did he drop? £1 to 126. Now, Willaston has some really nice form. A couple of seasons ago, or in April and May of 2023, he won at Cheltenham, beating Bold Endeavour, and then went to Haydock, and I thought Bold Endeavour could reverse that form, and he couldn't. He beat Bold Endeavour again in the long distance handicap hurdle, and he won really well that day at Willaston, off a mark of 126. Well, since then he's dropped back down to a mark of 126, and he's not really been able to string his runs together. What I mean by that is, after finishing 4th to Aramax at Uttoxeter, he had wind surgery. In actual fact, let's go back to Haydock and go even further. So let's go to this Haydock race that he won. He then had 78 days off the track before returning at Uttoxeter. He then had 90 days off the track before going to Cheltenham, 147 days off the track before Bangor, 65 days off the track before Cartmel, and 144 before Uttoxeter, where actually he didn't run too bad. But I think the key with Willaston is just get him. He clearly struggles to be kept fit. And if we look at his previous form when he had been kept fit, he'd run some good efforts. Second, first, and a second, first. He can string efforts together. It's not like he needs the break. I think there's clearly been issues with his training in terms of keeping him fit. But hopefully if they do, I want them to try and repeat what they did at Haydock over 3 mile. But in this race here, the Betfair Serial Winner Stayers Handicap Hurdle. It's a feature handicap. It's good prize money. It's back at Haydock, which he's won at. It's back over 3 mile, 3 mile and 58, 3 mile and 58, which he's won over. And he's back to the mark that actually he won this race off. There's no negatives about Willaston going to Haydock on the 23rd of November, in my opinion. So they are my 6 for this week. Aberama Gold up to 6 furlongs. I still might be just about tempted if he does go to Doncaster on soft, because that is where I want him to run over 6. Knightswood, you're going to have to wait a little while, but I think he'll be returning at Goodwood. When he does, he's very well handicapped because he doesn't want the soft ground, which has meant he's dropped significantly in the handicap. Koy Koy, a winner for you there for Boxing Day at Wolverhampton. Pembroke, I want to see him stepped up in trip for the Howland Handicap Chase. Jipcot to Sandown for the Kingston Handicap Hurdle on the 10th of November. And Willaston, I hope to see him in the Serial Winner Stayers Handicap Hurdle on the 23rd of November at Haydock, off the same mark as which he won off the last time he won over course and distance.